We're back, guys. You were both away at the Winter World Cup. How quickly does it feel like it's all returned?
It's just amazing, isn't it? We were just saying before that we did the preview show before the World Cup, and I feel like the 5 weeks just went. And they do say time flies when you're having fun, but how great is it? There's still Premier League games, 26 on Boxing Day. It's a great time of year, and the World Cup for me was one of the best experiences of my life. Genuinely, like I played in 2 World Cups, but going over there and meeting new people, seeing old faces, and just seeing so much incredible football. Every single team, Morocco, all the players, the Messi story. I mean, we could be here all day talking about the World Cup. I had a great time. I loved it. But great to be back with the Premier League now.
And Premier League players were stars out there, weren't they, Darren?
They were. Also, do you know who else were stars? You guys, this show is so popular around the world.
This show?
I cannot begin to tell you the amount of people...
How many selfies did you get asked for, Darren?
1 or 2, to be fair.
It's actually true.
I thought... I thought when I was out there, I thought to myself, they can't possibly recognise me from this show. But they do, and they said, Jules, they actually asked. They really did, Jules.
He's not lying either. Like, literally, everyone was coming up to me and I'm thinking, I've not been here to work on television for 4 years. I think I'm pretty good, but I must have left an impression. But they actually saw our show was on when I was over there.
That's
so it's amazing. So if you're watching over there, we're here.
We're
exactly. Still here.
You know what? What's interesting is I think everyone was questioning what the return of the Premier League would be like. And obviously we've got to wait until Boxing Day to see the full set of fixtures. But we got a bit of a taster, didn't we, in the League Cup this week, particularly with the intensity between Manchester City and Liverpool. I mean, what a game. And that just went to show, didn't it? That it can come back with a bang.
I mean, these players, I can't even imagine. They must feel like yo-yos because, when I was over there, I heard that Granit Xhaka went straight to Dubai to meet up with the Arsenal team from the Switzerland camp. I mean, these players are like machines. And I know a lot of the time people talk about how much money footballers get paid, but we're all human at the end of the day. And the fact that they're still here, and that game last night was absolutely incredible. The intensity, the players individually, everybody wanted to win. And they look like they'd not even been away. They look like the Premier League season is almost, it might even get better now than even before the break. You never know, but it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we always see is that when around about the festive season, you do get freak results because teams have to dip into their squads. And I think we'll see 1 or 2 on Boxing Day. But I think if you throw in the added jeopardy of the World Cup as well, and the differing levels of fitness. Some players will come back hot, if you like, in terms of being at it. They've been playing at a high intensity, and then you'll get the players who aren't quite there, but are hungry to kind of match that. And so I'll be very interested to see how, not just the top teams, but even the teams of lesser supposed ability play on Tuesday. But I do think there'll be 1 or 2 freak results.
Welcome back to Team Talks. The Premier League is back with a full match round starting on Boxing Day. At all 10 matches, there will be tributes paid to England World Cup winner George Cohen, who sadly passed away today at the age of 83. The fullback played his whole club career at Fulham, who will mark their respects ahead of their game away to Crystal Palace. Let's look ahead to another of this weekend's matches now, with Arsenal hosting West Ham. We can hear from David Moyes, but first, Mikel Arteta.
Period for any football supporter, and if you're brought up a football supporter and you're from the UK, it's very exciting. I think if you come from the other countries, or you look at it, where maybe they don't play over like Christmas and Boxing Day, I think quite often people would say, how stupid is that? Why are you playing so many games over Christmas and New Year? And I think we all probably think that, but it's very much part of our culture. And certainly if I wasn't a manager or I hadn't been a player, I would have been out watching it.
Nice to see you again.
Hi.
Premier League's back. It's all very well having friendly. It's nothing like the real thing, though, is there? Especially when you're 5 points clear at the top of the table.
Well, it's been obviously an unusual period with the World Cup, but a period as well that we have used pretty well to train certain things that we needed to train, to spend some time and focus as well on players that they haven't been with the national teams, and now everybody's back apart from Saliba, who is going to be back hopefully tomorrow. And let's crack on again for the second part of the season, which is going to be interesting, intense, and very looking forward to it.
You're in such a good place before, and it is a step in the unknown, isn't it, for all of the teams? We've never had this before.
Yeah.
How do you go about recreating that momentum, having had that 6 weeks off?
We need to do that on the pitch. We have talked a lot about it. We know the importance of starting strong again. We're playing at home. It's a very special day in the Premier League history. It's a very special family day to play football. It's an incredible atmosphere that day, and we want to make the most out of it.
And I guess the other thing that you've never really had to experience is kind of integrating players who've had really different stories over the last 6 weeks. Where are you with all of them? You said Saliba's back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everyone else fit? Is everyone else available this
They are really good, in a really good place. Obviously, huge blow with Gabriel Jesus and what happened in the World Cup with his injury, and we're going to miss him for a period of time. But the season have challenges. That's a challenge that we have to overcome as well. But if you want to be at the top, you know that you're going to have to face those type of challenges.
But in terms of sort of those available, I know Saka played behind closed doors against Luton. Would he be ready for Boxing Day?
Yeah, they were all fine, and they were all came in good spirits. Some of them came earlier than expected, and they were like buzzing to be back and be part of it. So I feel a really good energy around the place, and they have got straight away into the rhythm and what we want. And we have a few days before Monday, but we are good.
Yeah, so apart from Saliba, all of your World Cup,
everyone is here, yeah,
all in contention
and in good place, yeah.
And coming back to Gabriel Jesus, I sort of know you said mid-February. Is that still the case with him? And also, can you just tell us about Reece Nelson and Emil Smith-Rowe?
Yeah.
They are
with Gabi, it's very difficult to put a time frame. Obviously, it was a significant injury, and knowing him, I prefer not to give any dates away. With Reece, unfortunately, he picked up an injury in the game against Juventus, and he's going to be out for a while, I think. And Emil is close. He's starting to train again. He had a little setback, but he is there and he's in a good place.
When you say Reece, sorry, you said significant time out. What is that? What injury was it?
I'm talking about weeks. You know, it's not a matter of days, but he will be out for a few weeks. Let's see how he reacts in the next few days. But he felt something straight away, and with sprinters, that's not a good sign.
You said the injuries, particularly to Jesus, wouldn't change your policy in January in terms of transfers. Do you stand by that when you maybe look at what you did this January and you didn't bring anyone in and you got very close but not quite there? Did you maybe learn from not strengthening that there? What else were you taking?
That I said what with Gabriel Jesus?
Well, because he's going to be missing, so you didn't want to put a time frame on it, but you sort of said mid-February.
I didn't say February.
Oh, sorry.
I never said February.
Said mid-February. Is that not the case then?
I never gave a date,
Okay.
so that's not words that I never used, and I haven't used any words right now. I said that we don't know. It's gonna take some time for sure. Obviously, he's gone through surgery, so that tells you the extent of the injury, and we'll be in the market always active. That's what I said, and we will assess the biggest opportunities that we have.
Has it maybe prompted you to be a little bit more active in January?
We are going to be active, and active means that always we look into strengthen the team. This squad still doesn't have the luxury of not maximizing every single window, and we have to do that because it's really important. But then we want to get the right profile, the right player, and a player that really is going to impact the team and take us to the next level.
And just finally for me, because I haven't asked it for 6 weeks, and if I don't ask it, you'll probably worry that I'm not doing my job. Gabriel Martinelli, there are reports he is edging ever closer to a new contract.
No,
is that the case?
no news.
No news.
Extremely happy with him. I think he had a great experience with the Brazilian national team, and you can keep asking in the next few weeks.
Nathan, Premier League.
Hi, Mikel. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
First about David Moyes, please. Obviously, when you look at your mutual time together at Everton with David, what kind of impact he had on you as a player and something you potentially took from him into your management career?
Huge impact. So grateful, first of all, for the trust that he always showed in me, for how much I learned of him on the field, off the field, about building a team, about getting the right characters in the team to build what you want. And he was extremely supportive all the time with everything that we did together. And I had incredible memories with him because we had a very successful time together.
And how dangerous West Ham could be this Monday?
Very dangerous, because I know that for sure he's been working the team really, really hard since he took over. He absolutely maximized the potential of that team, and he took that team to a different level. And I'm sure they have been working really hard, like we have all been in this period, and it will be a very difficult context.
the first part of Arsenal season was very positive, but what impressed you the most?
Probably the level that we showed and the consistency that we showed within that level, which with the group and the age of the we have is not easy, but we showed real maturity in certain moments, especially against big opponents, and the focus is to play better every single day, to keep growing individual and collectively, and keep deserving to win matches. That's all we can hope. Then football is a very tricky game.
How much do you think you will have to adapt your coaching and management, mainly in terms of the squad rotation and recovery, because there was a World Cup in the middle of the season?
Well, obviously we've done a lot of work on that, but I think the second part of the season is going to have very different periods. There are going to be periods that you have time to train, and other periods that matches are going to come very fast, and we're going to have big congested periods, and that's going to be very important, how healthy the team is, how fit it is, and how much rotations can help you to sustain the level that we want.
The January transfer window is always a difficult one. The fact that there was a World Cup in the middle of the season, does it make it even more challenging, this window?
Probably, but we don't know exactly. You know, there are a lot of teams as well with new coaches and new owners that are going to probably get again this window into a position that is never seen or experienced before. But we know that, and we have to be active on it.
I just want to ask about Emil, who's obviously been out for such a long time now. When Granit was out for a similar period last season, you sort of kept him quite close to the team. Have you done something similar with Emil just to try and keep him feeling like he's part of the group? Or is he allowed time away?
We've done a lot of things with Emil. Sometimes he's been very close. Sometimes he's been in different places as well to see different environments. His attitude has been great. This is part of any career, any development career, to have periods when you are out, when you have injuries, long-term injuries, and he needs to react to that. And for sure he's got all our support. And it's a huge talent that we need for the second part of the season at his best, because his contribution is going to be key to the team.
What are the kind of environments that you've sort of been putting him in?
Different kind of environment, different sports, and to places, to people that he could inspire, that he can give him certain perspective as well, a little bit about his situation, and I think he has taken a lot from it.
Simon?
We saw, Mikel, that before you went out to Dubai, you got to go over to America to see the owners. What was that like, and what was it you came away from there feeling, and the emotions you had after?
We are always connected, and I think that relationship is getting stronger and stronger, and they've been over many times. We've been there a few times, and it's a very a special relationship right now, as well, to understand the way they think about sport, what they've done in other sports and with other franchises, and the ambition is there, and the alignment is certainly there as well. So it's very positive to spend time together.
Given where we are with January coming up, was it important to meet then and have that meeting at that time?
Well, it was the time that we had some spare time as well, so it was very useful for everybody to do it in that period.
And just lastly, we know that Fulham have been interested in Cedric. Have you taken a decision on what's going to happen with him, and can you afford to let anyone leave given the amount of fixtures?
Well, we know where we are in terms of the squad and the numbers that we have, so we're going to be extremely cautious about what we're doing in this window.
Nick at the back.
Is it realistic to expect that William Saliba will be involved in the match on Monday?
Let's see, depending how he comes back as well, you know, and obviously we have the data, what he's done in training in terms of minutes. He didn't participate much, but it was a huge experience for him as well. So let's see, when he gets back, we'll make the decision.
You haven't had any contact with him, you don't know how he's sort of feeling after?
Yeah, we have, of course, a lot of contact, but something else is on the phone, and something else when he's present, and we can actually talk to him directly and see how he's in training, see how he's feeling as well, and get in the rhythm.
Just a final one. What are your views on this proposed the Club World Cup tournament, which will have so many teams in it in 2025? Presumably Arsenal will be one of those teams invited to play.
At the moment, no opinion. I think it's very raw, and we are focusing in what we have to do today, and I don't think our opinion is going to count much anyway.
It's an English tradition, isn't it? We love all of the Christmas football, and what a time to have all the football back as well after the World Cup break, with Arsenal top of the Premier League table, 5 points clear, Leanne. It's theirs to lose, so how will they handle the pressure?
I think I'm probably one of the only people that I feel like for a few months, even before the World Cup, was saying that they can do it. You know, I said, if no one's going to try, you know, and just say, oh, Man City are going to win it every year, no one else might as well bother turning up. And Man City, we know they're one of the best teams in the world, but the only thing that concerns me now is about Gabriel Jesus being injured. I think it's obviously, people spoke about this before, if Arsenal got any injuries, and Nketiah will probably come in and he's just not at that same level as Jesus. Now, Jesus wasn't scoring, but it's what he brings to the team. So they've obviously got top players, but for me, you know, players like Odegaard, Martinelli, they've been brilliant. Partey, brilliant. Saliba, coming back off loan. So, you know, I think they can do it. I genuinely do. And I think it gets to this point where I don't think Arsenal fans believe it yet, because obviously last year, it was theirs to lose in the top 4, and then they ended up throwing it away. They're 2 games in hand. But I genuinely believe you've got to put some respect on Arsenal's name, because they've been very, very good. And at times when I've called for Mikel Arteta, I'm like, well, why has he not been questioned in his job? We're now seeing the plan come into fruition of what he's been doing for a long time, and I think they've been brilliant. I really do.
5 goals, 5 assists. That's what they're losing with Gabriel Jesus. But as Leanne points out, it's not just in that contribution in terms of numbers. It's what he does for the rest of the team on the pitch and the space he provides for the players around him as well. If we believe what Arteta said in his press conference, that Nketiah will probably start down the middle, do they have enough firepower with him, Martinelli, perhaps Emile Smith-Rowe coming back to fitness as well in the team to provide a bit of spark up top?
Well, the players that you mentioned can provide goals. There are other players who can step up to the plate and score goals, but none of them possesses the ability to draw defenders out of position, worried defenders out of position, to provide the space for other players to score goals and do what they do best. They have scored goals, Arsenal, in pre-season, or this mini pre-season before the restart, and they have won games in that pre-season as well. And Arteta, as you would expect, is being quite bullish. What I think will decide this game is defences, because Arsenal's is far better. You were talking about Saliba, and Saliba's the leader at the back. Gabriel alongside him has been terrific at both full-back positions. I mean, Tomiyasu's superb, and he can't even get into the Japan side at the World Cup. I remember watching World Cups saying, where's Tomiyasu on the bench for?
Yeah,
you know, that's how good they are. But and at the other full-back position, of course, Zinchenko is fit, is playing.
And Tierney's not even really getting a look in.
Absolutely. That's what's going to win this game, because if you look at the West Ham side, they're not as convincing at the back, and they've lost, it would appear, their 2 main strikers, Antonio and Scamacca. So it does look that even if Jesus isn't available, they do have the goal scorers in the side. I think Nketiah, he needs more experience. He certainly doesn't have the experience of winning 4 titles that Jesus has, but he can score goals. And if they can get goals in this game, they'll win it.
How will he manage that pressure that will inevitably be on him? He knows he's coming in to replace Gabriel Jesus. Will it be okay for a player of his age and experience level to sort of have that on his shoulders? Will he be feeling it?
I think he's been around Arsenal long enough now. You know, he had a loan spell at Leeds, but I think this is the opportunity that he's been waiting for. There was talk about him saying he wanted to leave and then he re-signed another contract. So this is what he's been waiting for. So he needs to step up. Do I think he can? Yes and no, really. You know, obviously when he made his debut, scored in the League Cup, but it's a different level. You know, no disrespect to the League Cup, but I think playing for Arsenal, leading the line, this is the chance what he's been waiting for, and he needs to take it with both hands. There's no reason why he can't. And I agree with what Darren said about Gabriel Jesus. You know, the work rate of that guy is incredible. The way he brings it, you know, he's always got that. That's what Nketiah, him and Nketiah are so different, aren't they?
Yeah.
But this is the chance, and if I was Nketiah, I'd be really delighted he's going to get this opportunity, and Arteta believes in him, because otherwise he wouldn't be playing him.
I've said before, Jesus is the kind of guy, he plays like a pirate with a knife between his teeth. You know, he's got that kind of edge and that drive, and he gets into scrapes, and he's a street fighter in a way. And Nketiah's a nice boy, but he needs to develop that edge. He needs to be a nuisance for defenders and give them that kind of trouble that Jesus gives them if he is to make an impact in a game like this, because it's likely to be a tough game, a physical game. It's a David Moyes side, and bear in mind, Arteta played for Moyes at Everton, and he's been talking in the press conference about the impact Arteta had on his career. It's going to be a tough game, and Nketiah has to be ready for that. If he is, then they'll come good. If not, then maybe West Ham might be able to sneak a point.
From a football writer's perspective, Darren, do you still have in your circle of friends in the media world and amongst the journalists? Do you still have Arsenal down as favourites to win the title? Or is it Man City? Does everyone just expect Manchester City to catch them?
I think most people expect City to do it because they've gone the course and the distance before, because they've got the players, because they have Haaland, but not just because they have Haaland, because, of course, they won it last season without Haaland, scored nearly 100 goals. I think it's the experience, I think it's the manager, and the fact that they've got the depth in that squad, even when they don't have the top players, the ethos, the industry, the willingness to work runs all the way through that side, and they never ever get carried away with themselves, and that's why.
I don't disagree with you, but let's say it gets to, say, February, March, and this situation is still this way. At what point do you think people will start to believe? Because we saw it's nowhere near the same as Leicester, but people were believing that Leicester could win it at around Christmas time when they were at the top of the league. Everyone was saying, well, they're top of the league now, but I feel like people are reluctant to say it. We know Manchester City. Imagine if Zinchenko and Jesus won the league and Pep's allowed them to go over to Arsenal.
I think you make a good point, and the stats do say that no team with Arsenal's points at this stage of the season has ever finished outside the top 2. But the problem is that as far as Arsenal are concerned, if they'd need another striker, I think they needed one even when Jesus was fit. If they don't get another striker and they rely on Nketiah, that's a big, big gamble to take. I agree with you. I still do think they have a chance. I just think City have a bigger one because they've got bigger weaponry to go to war with in the second half of the season.
What about West Ham? They're actually only 1 point above the relegation zone. The last 2 seasons in the Premier League, they finished 6th and 7th. Is David Moyes and this West Ham team under real threat of a relegation battle? And how much will we learn about that by the end of January? They've actually got some fairly kind fixtures after this Arsenal game coming up.
Yeah, they're nowhere near the levels that they've been at in the previous seasons, you know, in the Europa League, Europa Conference League. They've had a good run in the Europa Conference League this year, but last year in Europa League, people expected them to win it. I think West Ham were exceeding a lot of expectations, but I think a lot of the fans and people, the consensus is that they want Antonio and Scamacca to play together. They're both injured now, but when they can, play them both together, stop taking one off for the other. You've obviously got Paquetá that's had a good World Cup with Brazil. I thought he showed good signs. He probably won't be available for this game, but they've got the quality to, I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle, but they are at this moment in time, along with Everton and those types of teams. And West Ham fans will know all too well, you're never too good to go down. Look at the players they went down with in previous years. So for me, they're not doing anywhere near as well as they can. But David Moyes has to take some responsibility with that as well, because now they spent money. They've got all the tools. So they need to just have the players play at that moment in time and play that expansive football that I think the West Ham fans want and hope for.
Yeah.